Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Kindness Advantage with Cindy Rowe. I am your host, Cindy Rowe, and you can tell I have a guest. I am excited to welcome my friend from, again, across the pond. Folks, we are getting people from all over the world on this show, and I'm so excited. Hi, Kim. How are you?
I am really well, Cindy. Thank you so much. And yeah, I know we're like a good few years into technology now, but I still love the fact that I'm sat here in the UK, you're sat in the States, and just having this conversation. So yeah, I'm also very excited.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible actually when you think about it, like the amazing parts of technology. I mean, we love it when it works, hate it when it doesn't, but it also can connect people who wouldn't normally be able to be connected any other way.
Absolutely.
So, and you and I just will share with my listeners that you and I were connected through LinkedIn. We have the kindness group, and I've had several other of our members on the podcast in the past. But, I'm excited for you to just kind of share a little bit of who you are and why you're here talking with me today.
Yeah, thank you, Cindy. So yeah, so as I said, I live in a place called Twickenham. Any rugby fans listening might have heard of it, just outside of London. In the UK, and I am founder of Kindness for Success, which is a coaching and consulting business. It's been 2 years since I set up, and prior to that was a career of sort of 15, 16 years in HR within big corporates, so Pepsi and some other soft drinks companies, and then more latterly a tech. So that's me from, I guess, my sort of potted career history. And then I guess personally, I'm married, and I've got a 10-year-old son and 7-year-old daughter.
Ah, so busy world you have. So funny story. My previous marriage, my ex-husband, his mother is from Wooton Bassett. Wooton
Oh
Bassett.
yeah, Bassett. Yeah. There's army barracks and things in
Yeah.
Woking. Yeah.
Which when you said out just outside of London, I was like, oh, I know they're just outside of London. I don't know how far just outside is, but like if it's
Well,
anything like
in terms of America scales, yes, quite close.
I'm just outside of Chicago. So like that's kind of what I thought about. I was like, oh, maybe she's heard of it before,
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
I've been there, and I will say it was like um, a town out of a fairy tale. Like just the old, like we just don't have that here in, especially in Illinois where I live. Like the old cottages and like it was really cool. So anyway, it was
Yeah.
we're somehow a little bit connected. Maybe
Yes,
I'm
love
gonna
that.
say
I
that,
love
right? Like
that. Always.
I've never heard of your place, but because it's outside of London and I've been outside of
You're like, yeah, it's basically the same, same.
but so you had a career in HR and
Yes.
now you run a consulting coaching company on kindness. Like how did that come about? Like where's the connection of that HR corporate world
Yes.
to kindness?
Yes. No, really good question. And I guess I have always loved, I've always been fascinated and loved people. I studied, when I went to university, I studied sociology and criminology, actually, just because I was sort of all quite fascinated by that and didn't really quite know what I wanted to do. I actually then trained as a primary school, or I think you refer to as sort of kindergarten or elementary teacher, and I sort of qualified, but then for various reasons that it's no reason to go into now, decided that wasn't the path for me. And whilst I hadn't seen myself in business, I then discovered that, oh, hang on, there is this like people team within business, like this human resource, oh, maybe. So anyway, I sort of found my calling, absolutely loved it. And yeah, I guess I, progressed through, and I did sort of different types of HR. So there may be some sort of terminology differences, but in I guess sort of Europe, we talk about business partnering, sort of generalist HR, where you're having all the different conversations, and you've got sort of a function or a team that is yours to support, and then you've got specialist HR, which might be compensation and benefits, or it might be talent acquisition. And I moved into learning and development, and then specifically in management and leadership development, so designing and delivering programs, which I loved. And the reason for the change is a couple of things, Cindy. First of all, I always thought when I was grown up, in inverted commas, that I would do my own thing, have my own business. And I was working I'd got an opportunity at a sort of I'd always been in what we call sort of fast moving consumer goods industries, which I enjoyed. And then I had an opportunity at a tech firm, and I was there not very long, and the culture was very different to anything I had experienced. There was a lot of toxic behaviors. I guess the values from leaders and things where where you're like, wow, okay, we're clearly not on the same page. And for a couple of other reasons, I had a very tough time there, and I mentally, I guess I wasn't in a good place. And I remember my husband saying, oh, you need to resign. And when you're in it, you're like, I can't, like, ugh. But so I had a bit of an exit strategy, as it were. But as I now say, luck would have it, I was made redundant, which at the time you're a bit like, well, hang on a minute, it's not an exit on my term. But my body then did, and brain, I guess, almost that classic thing of, I remember finishing and we were going on holiday. We were flying to Croatia as a family for the part of the summer holidays and meeting friends. And I spent the first 3 or 4 days in bed. It was sort of as my body was like, no, that's that's enough, sort of that, getting that toxicity out. So I then remembered the little voice in my head was like, well, hang on, you always thought you would do something on your own. You're now, you're in your 40s, you're married, you've got 2 children. Maybe this is as grown up as it's going to feel. Excuse me. So I'd sort of always had that thought in my head that I would do something. And then after my experience, I knew that I wanted to do something to support others, but in a different way. So I did my sort of transformative life coaching diploma, which sort of, I guess, just added on to my other HR, skill set. And I thought, oh, maybe I'll just set up and I'll do, maybe I'll go in-house and do some exec coaching, but no, I sort of fell in love with it. And the more, I guess, like when you're learning anything, so I was training to be a coach. I was having lots of coaching myself. And, I'd also separately had some therapy. And it was then I realized that I had been showing myself zero kindness. Right. It played a huge toll on not just me, but, my family, my friendships, and all of those things. So I thought, what if I could support people like me before they get to that point? Right. So yeah, Kindness for Success was born, and kindness has always been my number one value. And I guess the rest of the name is around this philosophy of, actually, if we can't extend ourselves kindness the same way that we do to others, then we can't sustainably show up for anybody. Right. So yeah, that's sort of where I got to where I'm at today.
Okay, so if outside of London wasn't a connector, I went to college. I started out college in elementary ed as my major, and I changed it, which is kind of funny. And I always thought, and I share this in my story, I always thought since I was a little girl that I was going to be my own boss. Like, so that's so weird. You're
That's
saying that, I'm like,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna write this
Me,
down.
kindred
And
spirits.
when I left corporate, I went to school then for marketing. That's what my degree ended up being. And I was in a really nasty job where it was very toxic, and I ended up leaving that and starting my now, well, was marketing company. So very similar
Yeah.
pathways to where we are. I have since closed my marketing company at the end of last year to pursue full-time speaking, because that was over the last couple of years, it's been, that passion of mine, and I can't let it go type of thing. And I was feeling like I was doing a disservice to my marketing clients. But wow, the connections of like
I
your
love this.
past, like this is really cool. And I love how you noticed the self-kindness, because I've shared that on this podcast before. I even have a keynote about it, but we aren't taught self-kindness.
Yeah.
Like, it's supposed to be like this
No.
understood, but and then people still have this misconception of what self-kindness is. So share with the listeners a little bit of your perception of it and your philosophy behind the whole
Yeah.
self-kindness, and why you believe it's so important.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing all those, like the connect. I love it. I love it. And,
Cool.
so yes, sorry, or I'll get all giddy and excited. So, yes. So as you suggest, well, I guess there's a misconception of kindness in its
Yes.
broadest form, isn't it? It's weakness, it's fluffy, it's, all of this sort of stuff, which we know isn't true. And then when we get to self-kindness, I personally believe that we don't really, as you say, we don't really know how to do it because, well, there's a number of things behind that. One of them is, our conditioning and when we grow up, and obviously we sort of emulate what we see, and particularly sort of a generation or two ago, it was. So, for example, if I think about my parents' situation, mum stayed at home with like kids, and dad went out and and the money and all of these sorts of things. And it's even things that I don't remember her ever sitting down, like when I was a child, because she's cooking and then she's cleaning up and then she's doing the cleaning, blah, 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 and it's and we're taught as well to don't be too big for your boots, and care for others and all of those sorts of things. So there's a conditioning piece, and we sort of grow up with that, and then we get to a point where we're adults and perhaps we have other people that depending on us. It might be a partner, it might be children, it might be pets, it might be elderly parents, and we then feel guilty if we do anything for ourselves, and it's selfish. And the other piece that, and it may make you laugh to learn that I recently won a competition earlier this year. There's an entrepreneur he's British, called Simon Squibb, and he has a book called What's Your Dream? And his whole philosophy is to support people with dreams. Anyway, he has these points across different places in the world where you can go and for 60 seconds pitch your dream, and he may like invest in you, a bit like a sort of Dragon's Den. I don't know if you have Dragon's Den in the States, but basically like a pitch to someone that could be an investor or whatever. So I did one of those back in March, and I had a dressing gown on, a shower cap, and a bath loofah thing. And I pitched, and the whole premise was that self-kindness isn't about bubble baths and spa days. So I won that pitch, and I won £1,000 pounds, UK pounds for the business, and a coaching session anyway with entrepreneurs. So that, I guess, I talk very much about self-kindness being sort of misunderstood, and also then we don't really understand our relationship with self-kindness. And I won't go into it now because otherwise we'll be on for and everyone will be like, oh my goodness, she won't stop talking. But I developed a framework, sort of a matrix, which looks at it sort of looks at 6 different types of self-kindness, and it's between, there's 2 dimensions. The first is the time, so whether it's something you do in the moment, so micro, through to midi, so something that's maybe half an hour, a few hours, and then macro, which is sort of longer term. And so that's the time dimension. And then the other dimension is the way that kindness shows up. So there's the doing, and then there's the being, and that sort of gives 6 different types. And I guess I've been sort of testing and piloting this with some of my community, and what I'm finding is that if it's something like, oh, have a bath, or go for dinner with friends, or whatever, we can do it. But actually the being side, in terms of how we're speaking to ourselves, so our self-talk, or taking the time to sit in our emotions and really sit in them, whatever that might be. So the being side is much harder. So I guess what I'm passionate about is supporting people become more aware of their relationship with self-kindness, how that can take on different guises, but also realizing that it's actually the opposite of selfish, because if you're not doing this stuff, then those that you love and care for the most, yes, in the short term you can be there, but actually in the long term, well, you're going to burn out, or you're going to be miserable, or so.
Yeah, I like that. What's one of your favorite ways to give yourself kindness?
So if I'm talking about something on the doing side, I'm a runner. I love running, and I love getting out, because I love that I can just put on my trainers, go out my front door, and get where we live is actually I run along the River Thames, so it's beautiful, and I'm in nature, and I can be back. And if I've been at my desk, or I'm feeling a bit frustrated about something, I've never not loved a run. And other sort of practical things, I like knitting, because I find that quite sort of mindful as well. But then on the being side, what I've been working really hard on, Cindy, is my relationship with rest, because I've realized, and perhaps in part, as I mentioned, when I grew up and didn't see role models doing that, I really struggle to. So now even things like, I think even sometimes if you sit down with a hot cup of tea, because obviously I'm British, you'll be tempted to, okay, well, I'm just going to tidy a few bits away while I'm having it, or I'm just going to scroll on my phone, book, a dentist appointment, or I'll ring someone, but it's, so I'm now even trying, no, even if it's 5 minutes, sit, enjoy the tea, enjoy just being me. So that's something I'm really working on and practicing. Yeah.
I like those. And so when I talk about, the self-kindness, usually in the section of my keynote, like it's a pretty small section, but I think, I speak to a lot of leaders as well. I speak to HR teams, healthcare teams, but I share, like, you cannot pour from an empty cup. And as a leader, part of your responsibility is to give to others. And if you're not giving to yourself, you cannot give to others. And I share like a list of things. And I liked how, one of the first thing on my list is speak kindly to yourself. Um, for many years, I struggled with that, right? I was like, yeah, you wouldn't even want to know what I
Mm.
was talking to myself. And I'm like, and I not even had to like say it out loud. Like I could just have that thought. And that's been something, over the course of the last couple of years that I've really focused on, like, what am I thinking about myself or what am I
Yeah.
verbally saying? And if I wouldn't say it to my daughter, I'm not saying it to myself. And that has really shifted. I still find myself,
Mm. Yeah.
still learning,
It's habitual. It's,
but much better. Like
yes.
literally, I enjoy exercise. And it's something I've always enjoyed doing because it's like that mental break for me, and I feel strong and whatever. But I was going through a period of time where I was like, before I got out of bed, I'm like, get up, fat ass, like it's time to work out.
Mm. Mm.
Are you kidding
Yeah.
me?
Yeah.
Okay, like that's
Yeah.
stupid. And so
Yeah.
now, like I'm like, all right, you get to go work out today,
Yes. How
and then
fortunate
yeah.
are you that, yeah,
And then I
exactly.
have to stretch
Yeah.
before I get out of bed.
Yeah.
But I was still doing the workout, but I actually go to the workout in a different mindset
Yeah.
too, and then I've been through some therapy, and most recently grief therapy. I'm not sure if you know the story. I lost my husband unexpectedly at the end of 23, and my grief therapist, like, because I was entering this new chapter, and like I couldn't be the old Cindy, and I was really having a hard time with the old Cindy because I liked her. I liked her with Scott, and she's like, "Well, that no longer exists. You are in you're in this new space." And I had a really really hard time thinking about that. But she's like, what do you enjoy doing for yourself? Like that was
Yes.
one of the things. And I'm like, especially when you're deep in grief, you don't think about, I'm like, I cry, I'm like, I don't know, like I
Yeah.
did shower today, I'm thinking about
Yeah.
all these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what she started doing was like write down things that bring you joy throughout the day. And she's like, silly or not, she's like, just write those things that bring you joy. And then we're going to create a list of things that you enjoy doing. And I will tell you, even though, being in grief is completely different than, being in your own element. But as working mothers who are balancing a lot of things, we don't take the time to think about things that bring us joy outside of the people around us. So you take every people away, right? Because my world was shattered. I like went from a house of, 4 or 5 to a house of one. After he died, like there was nothing and nobody. And so if we allow women to think about like what brings you joy and happiness outside of the people in your life, like write those down and then like pick one and focus on it. And so for me, um, I'm glad I went through that exercise. I'm really glad she had that exercise for me because it truly helped me on the hard days when I didn't, I don't have people around, but I found joy with my dogs. And how silly that is. Like we know pets are incredible creatures, and like I enjoyed walking my dogs, and that was how simple it was. Like, so if I was really down and out and in a bad spot, I would look at my list and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go walk my dogs now.
Yeah.
So it got me into action, and it really did lift my spirits. And that's still one of my favorite things. But then she also asked me like what my hobbies were. And I was like, come on now, I'm a mom. Like, I don't get
Yeah.
hobbies.
Yeah.
But we've got to knock that crap off. I think we talked before,
Absolutely.
like, not like doing it all. We don't have to do it all to be deemed successful, right? Like
No.
that's how you burn out, and that's how you
Absolutely.
and then you don't serve anybody, you
No.
know. So I don't know. I just love to hear your thoughts on that, and maybe have even, a different perspective of, doing it all and not doing it all, or
Yeah,
what.
and I think, first off, and I'm, so sorry. Well, so sorry for your loss. That sounds so contrite, doesn't it? But and I think amazing, incredible what you're doing in terms of what you do now and the speaking um and yeah. So I wanted to just share that, but I this whole as you said, we were talking about it before we started recording. One of the philosophies at Kindness for Success I talk about is flipping the notion of having it all, which is something I don't just subscribe to, and instead defining and living your all. And essentially that's then success based on your terms, not not what your 20-year-old version of you thought, not what your elementary teacher thought, not what your mother-in-law thinks, or the mum next door, or whatever you. And I think, as well, as you, I guess, very eloquently put, that will change over periods in our life, and that includes terrible, tragic, awful periods, as well as periods of joy, or we have, I guess, when we're in some phases of our life, that we have choices around, okay, well, if I want to go after my career, if I want to be a COO, and I want to do the FTSE 100, like whatever, and I'm okay, well, like, actually, if I'm doing that, then I need to realize that, okay, I can't be at all the sports days, and I can't be at all the assemblies, but actually what I can do is, we can then afford to go on, holidays and have really quality time together. So I think there's a piece around really spending time, I guess, as you shared, thinking, so what success means to you, because I think, again, we grow up and we're like, well, I was going to be a teacher, or I was going to be a lawyer, and I need to get married, and I need to have a family, and I need to, who says who. And also, I think now it's particularly it's sort of particularly, again, for, and a lot of the women, a lot of my clients, particularly sort of women, overwhelmed, working, not always mums, but often, where they're, okay, no, I've been told I can have the career. Okay, great. So I can have the career, but also I want to be a great mum. And I need to be a present mum, and I need to look a certain way. I need to be slim, and I need to, look the part. I need to have a house that looks like it could be, in a magazine. I need to make time for my friends. I need to have hobbies. No. So I think there's absolutely, we can get rid of that having it all. And there was a second part of your question, but it's I know one thing I did want to say, actually, is I think it's that we're both totally aligned on the fact that, actually, not only can we not sustainably be there for those that we want to be, whether it's our dogs, and or whether it's children, aging parents. So, and this is something that always resonates with clients that I have, that maybe are really still stuck in I just feel guilty, or whatever. It's around, okay, but what are you role modeling?
Right.
What are you imparting to others that you don't value yourself? And what sort of message is that showing? So I think I'm quite overt with my children, and about, like, if they know that mummy needs to run, they know that mummy will go out with her friends, mummy has, like, a business, and they know that there's, obviously, they're hugely important to me, that sort of goes without saying. But if I'm going to be the best version of myself, and the best mum I can be, then for me, that is working at the moment, it's my own business, being able to see my husband not with them, see friends, do my running. So yeah, that tends to be a bit of a aha moment for those that struggle.
And I mean, that's great that you can bring them to the point of seeing how important it is. And I think it's pretty awesome. Kim, we are at 30 minutes, which is so I love how fast today has gone, and I think we could probably talk for hours. But staying true to my format. But how would you like to wrap it up? And with a nice bow at the end here, what's one last thing you'd like to say, and how can people find you and reach out to you if they want to connect with you?
Yeah, thank you. And I guess it would be to, if self-kindness hasn't been something that, you're listening to, that you've never really given much focused thought to, set a timer, set a time for 2 minutes, even better, set it for 5 minutes, and think about what does that mean for you. In terms of finding me, my website is kindnessforsuccess.co.uk, so all one word. And actually on there, I have the sort of framework that I mentioned with the 6 different types. It's free. I've got a very simple diagnostic that you can answer 12 questions, and it comes out with a report in terms of, where your sort of self-kindness naturally shows up, and perhaps where, some tips for things. And then Instagram, kindness.for-success, and LinkedIn is Kim Stokes. So I can share those.
Wonderful. Well, we'll definitely put them in the show notes for everybody to find, but it's been a pleasure. I appreciate it. I'm so glad that we found time within the different time zones. I know that's really challenging, but it was such a pleasure to connect with you and to share what you're doing in the world of kindness and how you can help other women so they don't burn out and feel overwhelmed on making all the choices that we have to make. So I appreciate you, Kim. Thank you again. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in today for the Kindness Advantage. If you have found a tiny bit of value, I would love for a 5-star rating, review. Please subscribe. And of course, we love comments. So leave some comments, and so we know that you're watching. And how I end it every time is this: together, we create waves of change through kindness. Thank you so much for watching.